Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever wonder why it feels like we sometimes get a better handle on ourselves by looking at how everyone else is doing? Or why following a strict group rule just doesn't fit you, but your own personal path does? Well, this new study might have an answer, or at least a way to think about it. So imagine psychology has two main ways of looking at people. One way is called Nomothetic. Think of it like studying a whole classroom of students to find out the average grade, or what subjects most people find difficult. It is about finding general rules that apply to lots of people. The other way is called Idiographic. This is like a deep dive into one student, understanding their unique strengths, struggles, and why they learn in their own special way. It is about understanding the individual. For a long time, these two ideas were seen as sort of enemies, like you had to pick one or the other. But what if they could work together? That is the big idea behind this research. The researchers here are proposing a new way to think about psychological research called the IdioNomo Framework. It is like a bridge between looking at groups and looking at individuals. They say we can learn more by combining these two perspectives, especially when we want to understand and predict things for you. The individual, think about personalized medicine for your mind knowing what might help you specifically, not just what helps the average person, machine learning. That fancy computer stuff is often used for this, but usually those models are still built from group data. The challenge is that getting enough super detailed data from just one person can be really expensive. Or sometimes the data is just too messy. So, how do we get the best of both worlds, the big picture and the personal details? Let's rewind a bit. The idea of studying groups versus individuals isn't new. Way back in the late 1800s, a philosopher named Wilhelm Windelband first talked about this. He saw Idiographic as understanding unique things like historical events or specific cultures. And Nomothetic was about discovering general laws like the laws of physics. In psychology, Gordon Allport in the 1930s really popularized this split, linking Nomothetic to group studies and Idiographic to single case studies. But this got a bit polarized. Over time, it started to feel like you were either a group researcher or an individual researcher, and it was hard to combine them. Group studies give us amazing insights into what is common across many people, but critics argue they can miss the unique quirks and experiences that make each person. Well, them on the flip side, individual studies can be really insightful, but sometimes you wonder, does this apply to anyone else? So, we've had this division. But now, there is a growing excitement to bring these two together. The IdioNomo perspective is all about seeing how idiographic and nomothetic approaches can actually help each other. The idea is that individual patterns can be made stronger and more reliable by fitting them into the bigger picture of group data. And vice versa. Group trends can be broken down to see the unique contributions of individuals. So, how do we actually do this IdioNomo thing? The researchers propose two main ways. The first is called subgrouping. Imagine you have a large group of people and you realize not everyone is the same. You can group them based on certain similarities. Think about depression. Instead of treating everyone with depression the same, we might find subgroups. One group with mostly physical symptoms, another with mainly thoughts and feelings. Once you have these subgroups, you can study each one more closely. This is like having smaller, more specific nomothetic groups, for example. You could find out which therapy works best for the physical symptom subgroup, or which approach is better for the cognitive subgroup. This is really useful because if a new patient comes in, you can look at their symptoms and try to place them into the best subgroup. Then you can suggest a treatment that has been shown to work well for that specific subgroup, without having to guess or try everything. This is already being used in fields like psychiatry to understand different types of depression or other conditions. And it is not just about static groups. If you have data from people over time, like mood tracking every day, you can find subgroups based on how their moods change. Imagine one group whose mood swings wildly day to day, and another group whose mood is more stable but still has ups and downs. Methods like latent transition analysis can help us see how people move between these states over time. The second main way to do IdioNomo research is called shrinkage. This is a bit like telling your personal hunch to chill out a bit based on what the crowd knows. Imagine you are building a model to predict something for one specific person, like how likely they are to feel anxious tomorrow. You only have a little bit of data for that person. If you just use their own data, your prediction might be a bit wild or unstable. But if you also know what tends to happen for people like them in general, you can use that group information to shrink your individual prediction towards the group average. It's like saying, okay, my personal data suggests this, but the general pattern for people like me is a little different. So let's find a middle ground that is probably more accurate. The paper even proposes a specific formula for this called IdioNomo shrinkage. This specific method helps balance the individual's data with the group's data. The amount of shrinkage can be adjusted. If you have a lot of high-quality data for an individual, you lean more towards their personal data. If you have very little or very noisy data, you rely more on the group information. This is especially helpful when you can't get a ton of data from every single person, which is common in things like brain imaging studies or tracking rare experiences. So, what is the big takeaway? This IdioNomo framework gives us a way to move beyond the either-or thinking. It allows us to build more accurate and personalized predictions and explanations by smartly combining information from individuals and groups. It helps us understand both the common threads that run through humanity and the unique tapestry of each person's life. What I find really exciting about this is its potential for things like mental health. Imagine truly personalized treatments, not just based on a diagnosis, but on your specific symptom patterns, your personal triggers, and how you respond to interventions. This framework suggests we can get there by being more thoughtful about how we use both group trends and individual experiences. Now, no study is perfect. One of the challenges, as the authors mention, is that formalizing statistical certainty after you've cleverly tweaked things to blend individual and group data can be tricky. And of course, collecting all that detailed individual data, even if it is less than a full solo study, can still be a big undertaking, but the potential payoff for understanding ourselves better, for truly personalized care, is enormous. This research is like giving us a blueprint for building those bridges between group understanding and individual insight. It suggests a future where we can be both scientifically rigorous and deeply attuned to the unique human experience. What do you all think? Have you ever felt like group advice just didn't fit you? Or have you found that understanding broader patterns helped you understand yourself? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this dive into how we study people, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to RUBIN'S Mind Lab for more science breakdowns, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.